Yo, what is up, guys? We are making a video today talking about some maths. And I know, maths is a very logical, technical type of subject. To be honest with you, I suck at maths. I dropped out of mathematics in like year 10. But at the end of the day, here's where it becomes useful. Understanding a couple of very, very simple numbers when it comes to business is going to make you a lot of money, because we're going to be talking about how to calculate what type of result you get for somebody else. Like, let's say you were to do their marketing, and let's say they were to make some sales as a result of your work. What you can calculate is just how profitable they are from campaigns that you create for them, and then figure out what you should be charging for it, right? So this is going to be useful for you when you're selling digital marketing as a service, like if you're creating a digital marketing business. So here's what I need you to understand, right? You have a couple of factors here. Let's say you were to create an advertising, campaign for a business, right? You've got ads. You've got also your fee. Then you've got their sales that they make as a result of you creating a campaign for them. And then you've got profit that they make, that the business would make, right? So we're talking digital marketing agency style. So let's say we're running ads in order to get leads, right? Which is going to be a name, an email, a phone number for a business. Now the question is, how much are those leads going to cost, right? So like if you're getting leads for $50, let's just say, then basically you need to be working with a business that is charging a high price point, because not every lead is going to, result in a sale. It might take, for example, 10 of these, right, to make a sale. So you would actually end up spending $500 in total to make what? Well, if the business can make anything more than $1,000, then okay, there's some profit here. This might make sense to do, because then every time you spent $500, you would make 1,000, so you'd be doubling your money, which is a pretty awesome situation, right? Now, one of the things that I look for when it comes to businesses that I work with is I want them to have an even higher price point than $1,000, right? I want them to have a $3,000 price point or more. If they have this, like they're doing some sort of service like that, then it's actually really hard not to provide value in some way to the business, right? Like you're going to likely be making the money, like if your campaign is half decent, okay? So this is why we're looking to, work with businesses that are charging a premium price point a lot of the time. So in addition to this, right, like let's say they would have spent, $500 to make 3,000. Well, then actually they would have 2,500 there. Call it like net potential revenue, right? Because you've got the expense of $500, right? But that isn't actually the total net, because every business is different. Like if they make, $3,000 on a sale, it's not necessarily that all of that is profit. Like there might be just general expenses that they have to incur because they are a business, right? They might also not collect all of that cash, like the 3K, entirely up front. So, if you minus the ad spend, you get 2,500. But then you might also, let's say, collect 50%, of that up front, and the rest will come later. So in reality, it's $1,250, right, that they have left over in actual profit. Man, it's getting really kind of not much space here. Hopefully this is making sense. So with that, then they need to go ahead and pay your fee, right? So I just talked to you about sales and profit, right? So I don't need to mention that anymore. You get it, hopefully. So with that, they have to pay your fee, okay? So if it's $3,000, cool, they can pay your fee. But like, let's say we dialed it back down to $1,000. They're selling something worth $1,000. Well, if you start deducting a lot of those expenses, you can't, they might not have that much in order to pay you. They can pay you something, but I like working with businesses that have a lot of cash after they make every single sale, right? Because if they do, then you can calculate your income and you can calculate the value that you create for them. So let's switch over to a different thing here. This is a tool, one of many tools that we've built inside of the MBA program just to kind of like break everything down for you. But what you're looking at here is something called a marketing ROI calculator. This, if you just fill in a couple of details, will show you exactly how much the business has made in sales, and it'll give you a rough idea based on sort of all the experience that we have and what everyone else is doing, roughly what you could be charging them, right? And look, at the end of the day, something's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. There might be someone out there that's just like, I really want to grow. I don't care that much about profit left over right now because I just want more and more customers. Fine. There might be someone who's a little bit more passive, let's say, or there might be someone who's a little bit more, trying to pinch pennies and stuff like that. The deals that you do with businesses are different across the board. But in general, what we look to do is deals where we get either a set amount every month and then a commission if it goes really well with the business, like if we break through certain goals, or we look to do things like, sell leads, right? Which means like you get a lead for $10 and you sell it for 50. As an example, right? So doing lead generation, you can monetize it in a couple of different ways. It should be hopefully not too confusing for you, but it should give you a good understanding of business in general and also what you could be charging. It's a resource. I'm going to actually give it to you for free as well underneath in the comments when you're ready to use it. But let me explain how you use it. So if I just zoom in here a little bit, right? On the left, it says, what's the average price of the product or the service? Okay, so we're going to run with $3,000 here. Now, let's say that they wanted to spend $1,000 in advertising, right? Like the business is going to obviously incur that cost, right? So that's put in here. Now, this number here, average CPM, this is the cost to reach 1,000 people with ads, okay? And every market that you get into is going to be different. Like if you are running advertisements to teenagers versus CEOs, the cost to reach those two audiences is going to be different. Like to teenagers is going to be like $10, right? But to CEOs who have a lot of money, that might be 50. And so on average, you put here $35. And when you run the ads, that's one of the first numbers that you have there at your disposal. Like what's my CPM, right? What's the cost to reach this audience? You can find that number really easily in the actual ad platform. If you don't know what you're doing, you can look it up. It's really easy. We obviously, show you exactly how to find it inside of our programs, but $35 CPM, right? So CPM is a really important number for us. The other really important metric for us is CTR, right? This is the percentage of people that will actually click on the ad. Now, this is going to come down to how good your ad is, right? So click-through rate, that's what that stands for. Now, on average, the click-through rate for someone to click on your ad and then go to the next step should be at least 1%. This is with a really average ad. Our ads routinely get above, 1.5%, 2% even. So all the numbers here are reasonable, right? They're conservative, right? And so this is going to be the number that tells you how good your ad actually is. And look, at the end of the day, if you want to win as a digital marketer, this is a good number to look into, right? This is or to keep attention of. And so if you want to win, the goal is to create great ads. That's the whole point. So 1% at least, right? And then it'll trickle down, right? So like what percentage of clicks will actually become a lead, right? So let's say 20% here on average. Now this is assuming that you're running like a lead form, right, on Facebook. 20%, typical number that we should see, because if they've clicked, they're interested, 80% of people won't actually fill in the form. That's cool. We only need 20%, right? Now of those that become a lead, what percentage of them are actually good leads, like qualified leads? We've put here 50%, right? So not everybody that even becomes a lead is going to be a really good hot lead, right? Only half will be what we'll classify as good leads, like leads that we actually want to move forward with. Now, what percentage of good leads turn into actual sales opportunities, right? So a good lead is someone you can actually connect with. They have a problem, they want it, they want to actually solve it, and you have a chat with them, and you're like, hey, do you want to learn more? Do you want to take the next step? The business would do that. What percentage of those, right? 30% will actually go to the next step. Okay, so 1/3. And as you can see, we're chopping down, like we're cutting down, right? It's kind of like a funnel in that way. Now, of those qualified opportunities that do move forward to the next step, they're good leads, right? What percentage of them actually do sign up? And so we've got 30% here. So what you're seeing here is percentages of how things break down. You can tweak these numbers in this sheet to see the type of effect and result that it will create, right? So let's zoom back out, because I don't think that we need to be that zoomed in for this. If you had all of these numbers, which are stock standard numbers, right? These are KPIs, as we call them, that we want to hit. When it comes to any business, that we launch, you need to know, like, what is your strategy? What are your KPI? Like, what are you trying to aim towards, right? This is what we're trying to aim towards. So if you do all of this, and this, all of these numbers are like this, then what you will see is if we're selling something for $3K and we've spent $1,000 in ads and all these numbers are consistent, then we will make back 6.7K, right? Because the way that it will break down, if I just zoom down and then, zoom in a little bit here, hopefully you can see this. It says here, total clicks that the business will get. They'll get 286 clicks if we spend $1,000. They'll get 57 leads as a result of it, right? 29 of them will be good qualified leads. 9 will actually become sales opportunities, and they'll make 3 sales as a result, of it. Now, like, we've had brand new beginners launch campaigns with our system and make a business 50 grand, right? With like less budget, being spent. So this is not a crazy result, by any stretch of the imagination. So like the total revenue would be 7,700 here. It's just basically averaging it out. Total ROI would be something like 6,700. That's revenue minus the ads that have been spent. And so now you've got to think about, like, let me just zoom down a little bit so this isn't hidden here, right? Total revenue, this. Total ROI, because the actual closed sales is not exactly 3, it's actually 2.6, right? Total revenue would be 7.7 on average, let's say here. Total ROI would be 6.7 because we've spent $1,000 on ads, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Now the question is, how much can you charge, or should you charge, if this is the result that you've gotten for a business? Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can charge. I'll scroll down here. Based on these numbers, the average cost of the lead, average cost that we're paying per each lead is $18, right? And so, we've got to keep that in mind, right? So like, let's say you wanted to resell the leads, like you wanted to charge per lead, let's say. You could be like, well, I want to be paid $60 every time I send you guys an opportunity, or every time I send you a lead. That's one way to do it. And this is especially useful is if if you want to, you can actually incur the advertising spend. You don't have to run it from the business's account. You can create your own brand. Like, let's say you're doing property leads. You can buy www.whatsmyhouseworth.com, run, your ads through that page. You would pay, in this case, $18 a lead, but you can resell it for $60. So on average is what we find. Obviously, like, we've got, members and students reselling leads for like 100, 150. So that's your kind of like arbitrage, I guess you could say, there. If you're doing something like a pay per lead type of, agreement or partnership with a business, or you can also charge a monthly retainer as a base, right? So the way that we try to do deals with businesses is we try to do it in a way where our interests are covered. Like, maybe you want a set amount every month as a base. It's nice to have security, right? So you could do that, and this will give you a rough idea of what you could, charge that would be reasonable, because we're also incorporating a bunch of little figures in here, like maybe on average, what is the profit of the business and stuff like that. We don't want to make this thing too complicated, so this will give you a rough idea. Give or take, you could go $500 up or down, right? But like, let's say 1.3 grand wouldn't be a terrible, thing that you could be charging if this is the result that you got for the business, because they would have made 6.7 in ROI, right? Let's get rid of the ad spend there. Now, how much of that will they collect up front? Well, maybe they'll collect half up front, right? So let's say they collected 3.5K that same month, right? So if you charged 1.3, that would be reasonable, okay? So it's kind of like, you know, slightly more than a third, you know, of that actual cash collected that first month. So the calculator will do all the work for you in figuring out roughly what you could be charging, but this is an example, very, very typical example. If you're going to do a monthly sort of retainer, then I would say I would do a deal like this. I'd be like, awesome. So in order for me to run this and keep it going, for us to continue with this and grow together, I'd be looking for something like $1,000 a month, or, you know, $1,500 a month, anywhere within this range. Okay. And then when we actually do really well, you know, and that will cover you for, like, let's say 3 sales, you know, in the month. Anything above 3 sales, like if you make 4 or 5 sales, it's just an extra $500 commission. Okay. Now you've got a way to grow with the business, which is a really important thing. Okay. So, like, so many people, they get into doing digital marketing. First of all, they're not doing something that actually generates ROI. This is how you generate ROI. You get them leads. Okay. But then even if they do, then they're not doing deals that are incentivized from both people. Like, it should be an actual partnership. The business should get results, and when they do really well, you should also win. In that way, you are both incentivized to do well, right? So that's the whole philosophy that we approach doing deals in digital marketing. Like, there should be some sort of ROI-based relationship or partnership, so you can grow when the business grows. Cool. So if you want access to this sheet, you like numbers, you want to break it all down, I'm going to put a link underneath this video. Hopefully it's making sense for you. Hopefully you understand how this thing makes money, right? In business, right? If you can understand the numbers, you can grow, you can win, and it's important to do so. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one.